Do you want to learn how to easily create your Amazon brand store? I'm David Goldenberg and I've been in digital marketing for over 20 years. I recently led the marketing for a seller who grew from 30 million a year to 57 million a year. Still work with them through my agency. And we sold over 16 million from our Amazon brand stores. Watch this video to learn not just how to make your store in total detail, covering all the tactics, all the secrets, all the formats and options, but also to increase your profits, to free up your time, to enjoy the finer things in life, and have everyone love you for your money. Is this recording?
What you'll learn in this video is as follows.
How brand stores help you to make more money, and the proof that this is more effective than just using product listings alone. Next, the 3 sources of traffic that bring visitors into your brand store and how to adapt for each one of those traffic sources. Third, how do you choose what products to feature in your store, and in what order do you put them on the page? Amazon's brand store gives you tiles. These are templates for content. Which ones are good, which ones are not, and in what circumstances do you need to use each one? And how do you use them? How do you use your brand store's headers, the graphic that Amazon requires you to put at the top, to increase your conversion rates? And how do you ensure that they show up on mobile? How do you build main category pages to balance mini conversions with sales conversions? And how is that different for subcategory pages? How do you design your homepage for maximum conversion? How do you adjust your brand store's navigation, also known as the main menu, to include tabs and subpages? What are some very common mistakes people make that you need to know about in order to avoid them? For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to assume that you've got your logo and brand trademarked and that you've got brand registry with Amazon.
Now let's talk about how Amazon brand stores help you make more money than just using product listings alone. I want to share a story about how we drove traffic from Google Ads to Amazon and what we learned from that experience. We were doing pretty well on Amazon, but we wanted more growth. Where could we find it? We advertised on Google in order to bring relevant traffic to our Amazon listings. We chose one of our best-selling products and we thought, hey, we know what sells this thing on sponsored brands, right? The headline, the keywords. And that's pretty similar to Google Ads. You've got a text ad and keywords. So we copied both of those. With those things covered, would we be able to make sales? And the question is not just, would we be able to make sales? But we need to track. It's one thing to see that your ad got a click. Google will tell you that happily. But it's another thing to find out if you actually got a sale from that particular ad. How could we find that out? This goes back years ago. Nowadays there's something called the brand referral system, and you can use that to drive traffic and get 10% on the sales of your own products. This was even before that. It took place around 2018, 2019. And we used the Amazon affiliate system, aka Amazon Associates. And what that does is it gives you commission on anything that's sold on Amazon, so long as the person who bought clicked your link before they got to Amazon. So we set that up with each of our ads, made a link and connected that to an ad. And we launched the ads. After a few days, we checked our analytics in the Amazon affiliates. Did we make sales? Did we not make sales? We saw that one ad didn't make any sales. But we saw another ad did make sales, but not for our own products. We saw that we had made sales for competing products. And we're like, well, that's frustrating, right? Because we paid for the ad traffic, but we didn't get the sales. And we thought to ourselves, okay, first of all, let's turn off the ad that didn't make any sales, not just of our stuff, but even of anything competing, etc. And if we want to persevere with this, how can we get them just to buy our things and not to start browsing away to competitors' products? So the question is, where did they find these competing products? Now, Amazon shows ads for competing products in ads and cross-sell listings on your own product page. And how can you preempt them? So that's why we changed our ads from sending traffic directly to the product listing to a step before to a custom landing page made in the sponsored brand campaign builder. And that page showed our best-selling products still, as well as other products in that line. And the idea is, if they're not necessarily interested in the best-selling product, at least let's give them the choice from within our own product category. So if we don't get sale on the bestseller, at least we can get it on one of our other products. So visitors could still see competing products once they got through to the detail page, but hopefully they've already made their choice between what we show them on the initial landing page and That was what used to be called a custom landing page. Today, essentially, you can make those custom landing pages again through sponsored brands, or you could go to your store builder and build such a page in your brand store. Now, what do you think happened next when we launched this new ad, taking them to this page, essentially a subcategory page featuring our product? When we did that, we saw that the ads converted for sales on our products. If they like a bestseller, they could choose from one of the other ones. And what's the takeaway? Brand stores help you make more money. You can narrow prospects' choices down from my product versus competitors' products to my product versus my other product and my other product, and so on. And that's true not just for external traffic, but also for sponsored brand headlines, whether that's product collections, store spotlights, and also sponsored brand videos. In fact, when Amazon initially launched sponsored brand video, the only option was to take somebody directly to a product detail page. And in the past year or 2 years, they expanded your options so you can take them to a store page, an Amazon brand store page. And right now, in the form for building your sponsored brand video campaign, they actually tell you that that converts 23% better than just taking them directly to product detail page, which is essentially what we experienced here with our Google ad campaign. So I'm so glad Amazon's sharing lessons that it cost us time and money to find out and sharing it with everybody like it's not some valuable secret. Narrowing choices, though, is also a little secret that the top sponsored brand advertisers are using with their store spotlight format ads. Narrowing choices is why these store spotlight ads can do really, really well. We have a whole video about how to do store spotlights, so check that out if you really want to master this, because it's so powerful. You get more clicks, more market share, more sales, more conversion rates, higher conversion. So let's talk now about the 3 traffic sources for Amazon brand stores. To make money with Amazon brand stores, you need to understand where your traffic is coming from. And there's 3 different places. Traffic reaches your Amazon brand store, first of all, from your product listing. Right below the title, there's a little link that says Brand X Store, okay? And there's a decent amount of people who click it. It's not huge, but it's there. And you need to know also that if you don't create your store, that traffic leaks, basically, L-E-A-K-S, not links, leaks, to a search results page for your brand. And advertisers, sponsored brands, sponsored products can show up there, and they can easily get your traffic. So you want to make sure that you have your brand store created so you avoid sending that traffic to a page where anybody can show up when they're looking for your own product. Second, sponsored brand ads obviously take people to your brand store. Third, this is a more recent innovation. When people search for your brand on Amazon, Amazon now gives these kind of thumbnails with a little description in the organic results that link to what they consider to be some of the main pages in your store. We've seen that that tends to be either based on your advertising, what pages are advertised more heavily, and also if you're using a certain kind of tile in your brand store. Okay, I get into that a bit later. If you're using a certain kind of content template, then they will also use those to help populate those thumbnails and links to your store in the search results when people search for your brand. So the first source of traffic is product listing. Like I said, right under the product title, there's a link to your brand store. The second source of traffic is sponsored brand ads, whether that's headlines or videos. And what that means is right after somebody clicks, they can just bounce back to the search results if they're not happy with your page. So you have to be super focused on making sure that they find what they're looking for as soon as possible. And how do you do that? How do you make sure that they don't just bounce right back to the search results? You need to make sure that your products that were shown in the ad are visible right at the top of your brand store page. This is why you need multiple pages in your store, because you've got multiple different keywords and multiple different categories, and you can't just throw everything at the homepage and expect that it's going to perform. A related tip: a lot of people think the store is meant to look beautiful and it's branding or maybe Coca-Cola and it's going to look so great. No, the point of your store is to sell. And in order for it to sell, they have to get from point A, the search result, to point B, your product that they've chose to commit to, as fast as possible. And so don't put additional graphics besides for the header that Amazon forces everybody to put at the start. Don't put extra graphics and images, videos above your product. Once they get there, with one exception. I talk about that a little later in main category pages versus subcategory pages. Now, the third source of traffic to your brand store is brand search. Amazon is now showing little thumbnails with a little description at the top of search results when people search for brands. Not necessarily for every brand, but if you're advertising a lot with sponsored brands, then you'll tend to see these. Also, if you use what's called a product collection tile, okay, that requires both specialized graphics as well as a certain amount of products to be used in a page on your store, then you can also get those tiles based on that. And I get into whether you actually want that to happen based on product collections versus advertising a little bit later when we talk about the use of tiles, okay? But the main idea that you need to keep in mind is that what you're showing in your ads, again, needs to be right near the top, because that's also what's going to show up in your brand excerpts. I can call it basically your brand store excerpts that show up in the brand search organic section of Amazon search results. The action item for this in your store is that you need to match the keywords people are searching for with your brand store page. If people are looking for wall art and I take them to a page about hanging plants, right? That doesn't match. Even though this is decor and this is decor, they are going to head right back out to the search results page. If you're targeting a keyword or a set of related keywords, make one page, focus on those keywords. If you're doing wall art and you have different subcategories, have a general wall art category. And if you've got hanging plants that, drape on the wall, make that one. If you've got prints, make that one. Now, you've got product grids and product collections and a lot of other tiles and templates for creating your store pages and for inputting your content for your brand store. Which one should you be using?
3. Choosing products for your store and how to rank them. All right, so let's get into choosing products for your store and in what order to rank them on your page. I want to share a little hack that virtually no one is aware of in terms of figuring out what products to put on your page and in what order they should appear. There's something called an Amazon storefront. This preceded Amazon brand stores, and what it does is it shows all the products that an Amazon seller has from any brand that they're selling. Now, these things are searchable. So if you can find the Amazon storefront for your seller, what you can do is use that to search the keyword that you want to target with this particular page in your brand store. And then Amazon's own algorithm itself will tell you, okay, you know what, for search keyword X, here's the top product, the second product, third product, right? And essentially you let Amazon tell you what is most likely to sell on these given keywords. Isn't that great? Sometimes yes, sometimes not so much. Since this is based on Amazon's sales data, it's really good when there is enough data for Amazon to tell you those predictions for it, essentially, based on the past history of what is sold. But what happens when you search for a more niche keyword or a keyword that you haven't focused on before, you haven't advertised, it's new to your listing, whatever? Amazon there doesn't have any more data than you do. And so how's it supposed to tell that this product versus that product is going to sell? And it can't really do that so well. That being said, the suggestions are a good starting point to guide yourself as to what products to choose and in what order to choose them. So how do you find your seller's storefront? You find your seller name in the buy box, click on that, and then on the next page, you click on storefront, which appears usually right below the seller name. Bookmark the page because it's going to be really important for your future use in building the store. 4. Amazon brand store tiles. Okay, so now that we've talked about what products to put in your pages, we need to know what tiles to use in order to do that. Amazon gives you tiles, a sort of template into which you can enter products and images, videos, all kinds of other things. We need to know which ones you want to use and which ones you don't want to use. For your standard e-commerce brand store, the page templates just add useless clutter that you need to delete. So just pick the blank template. Now, what brand store tiles should you use? Let's start with the most important thing. Your store needs to display products. Now, what do you want to do? Display your products with the reviews or without the reviews? Obviously, you want to display them with the reviews. But judging by the number of brand stores that display products without reviews, this is maybe not so obvious. So in order to make sure that your products show up with reviews, don't use the image tile to show a product, nor the shoppable image, because neither of those import your reviews from the product. And even if you were to create an image that showed the number of stars and reviews you currently have, that'll just be stuck in time, and as you get more reviews, and perhaps the review score improves over time, then that won't show up. It'll just be stuck with whatever you put in the image today. So what you need is either a product grid or a product tile. And let's talk a little bit about what makes each of those unique and when to choose one over the other. There are a couple of differences between the product tile and the product grid. The product tile can fit within a container called the split section. And what the split section does is it allows you to lay out your different items, for example, products, images, etc., in a preset format, right? This on the top right and on top left. This takes up 50% of the page, this takes up 50% or 1/3 and 2/3 and so on. If you put a product title in a split section container, again, it won't include the reviews. It won't import them. It'll just take the picture and the price. And so if you're going to use product tiles, you need to know that the product tile itself can fit inside a split section, but then you lose the review. So don't do that.
So how should you lay out your products on a category page?
The product tile, if you use it on its own, takes up the whole width of the page. You need to be aware of this, especially for mobile, because what happens is that you go from choosing between different products with a grid to needing to scroll down to see if there are additional products on the page. Now, when people need to decide yes or no, they're usually going to go with the default that makes them comfortable, which is no. And that's not what you're trying to go for. Now, why doesn't everybody just use product grids in that case? Generally, you can, but there are some cases where you won't be able to. And the reason is that a product grid needs at least 4 different SKUs. So if you just have one product or 2 products, that's usually not going to be possible. But in that case, in any event, you don't have a question about whether or not you're going to choose between all these different variations and so on. Another reason that you want to use a product grid, if you can, is that once people make a choice from a few different products, they're a little bit more committed. They're a little bit more likely to convert. This is their choice now. There's some personal commitment. So if you can, use a product grid as opposed to a product tile or a few product tiles. A product collection tile is the same idea as a product grid, except that it also allows you to have a large lifestyle image at the top of your products. And you can also have different collections, different groups, of products within a collection, right? So for example, if your collection is living room wall decor, so you might have within that boho wall decor, modern wall decor for living rooms and so on. The problem with this is that when you have multiple groups of products on a page, it encourages you to add too many products to a page, and that can actually decrease your conversion rates. Because if people see too many products, they become fearful of making the wrong decision and they just don't choose. They go back to the search results, they navigate somewhere else. The other problem with product collection tiles is that if you add that lifestyle image, and essentially you have to when you're using this tile, that pushes your products down the page. So people need to scroll in order to see the products, and people generally are a little impatient on the web. So you're not doing them a favor, and especially whatever you could put in that image, you could just put in the graphic header, which Amazon requires all stores to have at the top of the page. And we'll talk about that hopefully in just a couple minutes. Now, there is one advantage for product collection tiles, and that is that the image that you use can show up in branded searches. So if your brand is, let's say, Nike, and you have a product collection for basketballs, and you've got, let's say, some people playing on the court, so that image could show up when people search Nike. So the link to your basketballs page might feature a thumbnail taken from that product collection tile. If you use product grids, what Amazon does is they still actually link to pages within your store, and they use the images of the products instead of the lifestyle image. If you ask me personally, I think that's actually more likely to convert for the simple reason that there's better message match between what they saw in the search results and what they're getting on the landing page, as opposed to, for example, seeing an image of a court, maybe they like the shoes the guy's wearing or the shorts or the ball or some other thing. And because it's more vague and it's less specific, that's probably less likely, in fact, to convert than just showing specifically a product that's associated with that page. Okay, next we have the image tile and the image with text tile. And what these allow you to do is link to another page in your store using an image for the link. And this can be very useful both on home pages as well as on main category pages, as I intend to explain in a couple minutes when we get to talking about category pages and the home page and how you need to design them differently from subcategory pages or product pages in your store. The image with text tile gives you a little bit more control. It allows you to control the colors, the layout of the text that appears over your image. And so usually I recommend that it's very user-friendly and helps people navigate your store. Another tile which you might be interested in is the text tile. And as the name suggests, it allows you to write some text on your page. However, I've found that the text is actually just very large font and you can't control that. And again, it just pushes your products down the page, usually for no clear benefit. There's the shoppable image as well. And what that does is you have a lifestyle image, and initially it puts a little dot on the image. You can move that around. And when somebody hovers with their mouse over that dot, then they can get a pop-up that shows them, okay, this is this product, here's what it costs, here's the titles, the ratings, whatever. The problem with this is that that's designed for desktop. Where are most people browsing today? On mobile. On mobile, you can't, right? People are not just going to start inventing a new habit, tracing their finger over the page to try to see what pops up. So it doesn't work so well with mobile. I would avoid, again, the shoppable image tile. At the end, I want to talk about some of the big mistakes we made. And one of them is specifically around shoppable image tiles and how we really use them badly. And anyway, it was a mess. Stay tuned to hear exactly what happened over there. Featured deals, as the name suggests, can be a helpful tile in order to promote things that are on sale if you're trying to get momentum on a new product, or if you're trying to get momentum ahead of a big seasonal event, right? You want to get your organic rankings up before the search volume really starts to hit. So that can maybe help you to push a few more sales on those units. Video and background video tiles are okay. They're not amazing for a few reasons. First of all, the background video is not really great because there's going to be stuff layered over it, so you can't clearly watch what's going on in the video. Big principle of marketing, you need to be clear, you need to be specific. If you have stuff layered over the video, it's not clear, so I'll just skip that. Also, video tiles, like images and so on, move your products down the page. You're seeing a pattern here, right? Show the products to the people as soon as possible. Unless you put the videos in a split section so that you can lay them out, here's your video and here's your products. But again, what's the product going to do if you put in a split section? Not show reviews. That's what we were just saying earlier. So there's few cases where a video in your store is going to be really beneficial. That's maybe if you just have few products or if you have dedicated product pages within the store. So you might have a product tile at the top, and then you might have your video to help sell people on it just below that, and so on. If you want to use videos in the store and you feel very strongly that it will help you convert better, at least A/B test, right? Make two versions of the page, send traffic to both, and see which one gets you better conversion rates. Recommended products are personalized to the products that people already shopped from your catalog. How many of your catalog's products have they seen before? 1, 2, 3. In most cases, I don't think it's going to be super helpful just because there's not so much data there to display. And if they wanted to buy that product, they were already on that product page. So why don't they just add it to cart and check out beforehand? If you're more expensive, so it might be like a retargeting play. If they don't buy on the first visit, so maybe the second time around, third time around, in situations like that, it could be more helpful. In Amazon context, right, more expensive means probably over $100, over $200. If you're below $100, you can probably convert reasonably well without that kind of thing. The best-selling products tile is a good idea that's poorly executed. Amazon shows an image carousel where the images link to your best sellers. There's no pricing, there's no reviews, there's no context. And if your main images don't have text in them, then it's hard to tell similar images apart, and it's hard to tell why they should choose one over the other, or even what they're looking at. Let's talk about a better approach to doing this in just a few moments when we talk about the homepage and how to design that specifically for Amazon brand stores. There's a new video reveal tile, and what that does is it forces people to watch your video before they can see the page in your brand store. To me, this feels like flash animations from 20 years ago on websites that were just irritating, and you had to wait for the thing to load and wait for it to play, and only then could you actually do what you wanted to do. Avoid this. There's the gallery tile, which is okay, but the pictures shown tend to be quite small, and so I don't know why you would want to use that as opposed to just using regular image tiles. If we've already shown your product tile at the start, or product grid or whatever, and at this point you want to show a bunch of images, so this would actually be a good use for your split section to lay out a few nice images in full size. Finally, there's a new product selector tile, which sounds very promising. And if you subscribe, then we're intending to make an A/B test case study about using that on a page versus using a standard product grid style, and seeing which one converts better. And the idea is, with a product selector, you have a mini quiz, there's 3 questions. And based on that, you make a customized recommendation. Here's a product that's most suitable for your needs according to your answers to those questions. So the idea for the A/B test is that maybe this more custom approach will convert higher, as opposed to featuring what we know to sell best on this particular keyword in general. And then you want to think about what kind of keywords might this break down better on. My recommendation is it could do better for more vague keywords where people are more at the start of their buying journey. If you're really in a competitive niche and you're able to compete for those top keywords, this could be an edge for you in that way, because it can convert better potentially than you just telling people what suits them. This already gets them to buy in more, right? Here's what you said you value more. It's the price, it's the features, it's whatever. And therefore you should get product A and not product B. Little update. This was shot after making the original video for the brand store. We tested the product selector, and we've got an A/B test case study that is in the works. Subscribe to check that out when it's ready. Coming up next, we are talking about graphic headers. We're talking about how to make your homepage, how to make your category pages versus your subcategory pages. What's the difference between them? Okay, stay tuned. We've got all that coming up in a moment. 5, graphic headers. How do you design these images to maximize your conversion rate? Every store on Amazon has to have a graphic header at the top of the page that is 3,000 pixels wide by 600 pixels high. The question is, what should you do? What should you show in this image? What should you write in order to get the most sales per visitor? At a very minimum, show your logo along with the keywords that you're targeting. For example, logo, living room wall prints, patio furniture, and so on. If you have product photos or customer photos that you can use, then you can have your graphic designer show your product in use, a few different products that are going to be featured on this page, and layer that behind the logo and text, and that can allow customers to imagine this in their own homes and also reflect back to them, hey, you are looking for this particular keyword, you've come to the right place. You wanted leather sofas for living rooms, that's exactly what we've got here, right? And you can use these photos to show the benefits of your products, how it matches the room, how it looks nice, and so forth. Note, it's important that you upload your graphic headers both for mobile and for desktop. The store builder has separate tabs you can see at the top for desktop and for mobile. And if you upload the header for the one, it doesn't always carry over to the other. So just make sure you click on the tab, upload the header, click on the mobile after you've done desktop, and upload the header to make sure that you have the same header on both. How to build category pages or subcategory pages. What's the difference between a category page and a subcategory page? A category page caters to a broader audience who are earlier in their shopping journey and don't exactly know yet what precisely they want to buy. With a subcategory, you're catering to a more niche audience who are further along and have a better idea, more targeted intent, and usually also higher conversion rates. So if you're making a category page that has one or more category pages underneath it, what you need to do is funnel people from the category page to those subcategory pages. The way you can do that is you can use an image tile that shows the product in use preferably, and you put text over that says, okay, shop this in this category, subcategory. The problem with that is it's not really going to work so well, unfortunately, if you have more than one subcategory. And the reason is that the image tile takes up the whole width of the page. So if you have multiple subcategories that you want to funnel traffic to, you want people to be able to pick between them without having to scroll and scroll and scroll. So instead of using an image tile directly or an image with text tile, okay, what you want to use is a split section. As I mentioned earlier, the split section is basically a formatting tile that allows you to choose what layout you want different tiles within that split section to have. So for example, you could have a 50-50 split between a tile on the right and a tile on the left. You can have 50-25-25, right? So one takes up 50% of the page and then another two tiles take up each 25%. Maybe those are less important subcategories, and so on and so forth. And then within those tiles inside of the split section, you can link again using the technique just described. Note that your main category pages should also have product grids in them. That's because not everybody is going to have the patience to click through the subcategory pages. Some people just want to get to the products, make a quick decision, and move on. So cater to them as well. Show the products most relevant to that category right there below the split section that's linking to your different subcategories. With your subcategory pages though, the story is simpler. Right after your header, you can just have your product grid and show the top selling products within that category, meaning the ones that are most relevant to the particular keyword intent that you're catering to on that subcategory page. 7, the homepage.
If you want to increase the conversion rate and the sales from your Amazon brand store, contact us and we'll make you a special offer to do it in half the time it normally takes. It's usually between 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how big or small your store is. We'll do it in 1 to 2 weeks. So get in touch and we'll even throw in a free bonus design of a header for your homepage.
Let's talk about how to make a homepage in a way that is going to convert optimally. How do you make the most money possible from your homepage? Now, your homepage needs to achieve 2 different things. Like the category page, it needs to funnel traffic on to more niche pages, to the category pages or even to subcategory pages. And it also needs to have products over there to cater again to people who want to just move on, place an order, and get on with things. Imagine you walk into a big box retailer like Home Hardware. At the entrance is a greeter, and their role is to help you get oriented in the store. So what they do is say, "Hi, what are you shopping for today?" And when you give an answer to that question, they can tell you, "Oh, that's over there in aisle 3. Oh, that's over there in aisle 7. And funnel you deeper into the store to help you get to the products you're looking for. And that increases the shop conversion rate because obviously if you can't find what you're looking for, you're not going to convert. The homepage is basically a mother of all category pages page. So you need to link to your various category pages from the homepage. And that's likely the very first thing you want to do. So your homepage is another place where the split section is useful. You can feature your different category pages there and funnel people deeper into your store. Note that this assumes that you have a high SKU count. If you have something like fewer than 20, 30 SKUs in your whole catalog, it's probably not as relevant to promote these category pages as heavily on the homepage. You can do more promoting the products or just a few categories on the homepage and get to the product grid faster. It could be also that if you have a much larger catalog, the subcategories are still not going to be as relevant if there's only minor variations between a lot of your catalog. And that would be relevant, for example, for fashion retailers where you have just a few parent ASINs, parent SKUs, and you have dozens of variations for each for color, size, and perhaps other small details like that. The next thing you should have on your homepage is your product grid. And that product grid needs to feature primarily your best sellers. You don't know what people are coming to the homepage for, right? They could come from your product pages, it could come from your sponsored brand ads, it could come from branded search, and they could have all different intents. Maybe they heard about you before but they haven't bought, maybe they're previous buyers, and so on. And so you want to feature the products that have the broadest appeal possible. That's usually your best sellers. You also probably want to label these best sellers. So if you have a little text tile that says best sellers or best sellers in category X, that will help people appreciate, oh, okay, this is what I'm looking for, it's not, and they might just scroll past it to the next product grid with best sellers in the next category, and so on. Videos on the homepage. Should you have videos on your homepage? It depends on how deep your catalog is. If you have fewer than 10 SKUs, so you can just have a product grid and below that feature your videos on the homepage. But if you have a deeper catalog, it probably doesn't make sense because you have your categories, you have some subcategories you want to promote, then your product grids, and if you have it at the very end of the page, probably won't hurt, but what benefit is it really doing there? And then if it gets outdated, you have a problem because your homepage is outdated and you're probably not going to remember. The main thing here is you want to think, what is going to help me funnel this person onwards one step further in their buyer journey? So if you have just a few products and the video is going to really help them be persuaded, okay, that can maybe find space over there. Otherwise, the place that videos really make sense is when they're looking for information about that particular product. And that would be probably at the product page itself, where you're probably including already with your EBC, or maybe on a subcategory page below your product grid. You have to remember, and this is something many people forget, your store is there to sell. It's not there for people to remember, wow, that was the most beautiful store, what cool branding, I just love them so much. That's not really how people get into a brand. They get into a brand from buying it, and then they repeat buyers if it's something consumable. So your videos are there to help sell. They're not there to help people think, wow, you're so cool. Remember, your brand store success metric is dollars sold. In order to do that, the main metric of success for your homepage and for your category pages is funneling traffic deeper into the store, helping people find what they're really after, okay? And so the click-through rate onto category pages, subcategory pages, and product pages is what your pages in the store need to do. They're not there to feed them information about a product. That's what the product pages are there for. 8, navigation. You can see a main navigation bar right under your graphic header. And the question is, how do you edit that? How do you change the order of pages that appear in that menu navigation bar? How do you change the labels of the pages that appear in that menu bar? Here's how to do it. To change the text of the links, you need to edit the page name. How do you edit the page name? Click on the vertical 3 dots icon by page name in the left-hand page list. That brings up the page name and description. Edit and save. How do you change the order in which the pages show up in your navigation? Find the page in the left-hand page list. Click on the 6-dot icon and drag the page to a new place in the order. But you're not done there. What if a page has subcategories? For example, in home goods and furnishings, you probably want an option to shop by room. You want to make the room pages subcategories of the shop by room page. To make a page a subcategory of another one, you need to drag that page in the page list and move it below and slightly inward of the category page. It should appear indented in the page list with a little line connecting it to the category. That shows that Amazon associates it as a subcategory, and that reflects in the menu. If you hover on that category in your store when it's live, you'll see it shows its subcategories. Note that when you move a category to a different place in the menu, all its subcategory pages will move with it. Once you publish and changes are approved by Amazon's moderators, then you'll see your menu order and the label of the pages, the names of the pages, will be updated in the navigation as well. 9. Mistakes to avoid. What product should you never show on your store page? You should never display a product that may one day go out of stock. Sounds obvious, right? But how can you predict the future? Except for obvious stockouts that are probably going to happen in the next 2 or 3 months, you can't know ahead of time what will go out of stock. So you need to prevent this from happening, and Amazon made an easy fix for this. In the store builder, when you click the grid tile, check the box to hide products that are out of stock. And this is another reason why you want to use either product tiles or product grid tiles and not put product grids or other things within the split section, because then things that are out of stock usually will still show up there. What's the second problem that makes sales dive? Using the split section to display products. Like I said earlier, products shown in the split section won't show you your reviews. Oops. The third common mistake I see is having no apparent strategy for how the products are ordered on the page. If you act in a random way, expect random results.
Over here on this page from mDesign, you can see their line of shower and bath totes, and seemingly these are their top selling ones, but it's a little hard to understand how that can be, because this only has 500 reviews, whereas this one has 4,000 and this one has 4,000. It doesn't seem to be ordering by price, because this is $28.99, this is $14.97, then it's higher, it's $19.99, then $16.99. And my favorite order, which is basically relevance, if you go to your storefront and you search for the keyword you want to make a page around, so you do shower totes in this case. So this product wasn't even in the top 5 on the page. This one was number 4, and this one wasn't even in the top 5. So there's no apparent order going on over here, and it makes you wonder how they chose to put those products on the page.
There's another mistake that just drives me crazy, and that's when I see stores using pictures or videos for the purposes of looking great or gaining followers, rather than just to call people to action to go deeper to category or subcategory page or go and check out their products. The point of your store is to sell. One thing in particular I saw recently I thought was ridiculous is shops linking to pointing out the follow button that Amazon added on brand stores. This stuff hardly moves sales. I don't know if it's a complete waste of time, but it's pretty close. And if you're going to use the prime real estate of your homepage that everybody sees to get people to take a secondary or tertiary action instead of trying to sell products, you're going about this the wrong way. Probably my worst mistake with brand stores, though, was this. Holy cow, did these pages do bad. Amazon brand stores have an analytics section called Insights, and they showed us exactly how bad these pages did. We made 6 of these pages. In total, our ads saw 3,764 visits. The pages generated the astounding total of 147 orders for a conversion rate of 3.9%. When other pages in the store featuring the same products converted between 11.2 to 15.6%. So the ACoS was about 3 to 4 times worse, and the conversion rate was about 3 to 4 times worse. Eventually had to delete them off the store. It was a waste of literally thousands of dollars in ad spend, even more when you count the time and effort we put on this. It was just a huge mess. Now, what was so terrible about these pages? Allowing people to shop based on customer pictures and using the shoppable image to display these pictures was just the wrong approach. And here's why. I'll give a little detail just first. We found pictures and customer views that we liked, but what we did here is we used the shoppable image tile. And the shoppable image tile is just a really convoluted thing. There's little dots, as I explained earlier in the section on tiles. It works, maybe can work on desktop, but even then, probably not so much. For mobile, it's just a big flop. And we were taking people to pages that basically couldn't or really struggled to funnel them onwards to our products. And so I want to warn you very strongly against A, using the shoppable tile, and B, encouraging people to shop by customer pictures. We've had some amazing successes using customer pictures in our ads, and our customers using them, our clients using them in their product listings and so on. But this was really not the way to do it. Amazon brand stores can help you make a lot more money than just using product pages. And we've seen the proof. We talked about where the traffic comes from to your store, and how to customize your pages and how to build them, all the different tiles and the graphic headers and so on. There's a lot more ways to be innovative and drive sales with your Amazon brand stores. So let's talk about learning more about Amazon brand stores and how to drive traffic and sales using them. The first option is to find out how to drive traffic to the brand store in the most successful way. Now, how did we drive most of this traffic? I want to tell you, it's actually an underused ad format called the Sponsored Brand Store Spotlight. Most people are still using the old original format of sponsored brands called the product collection. There's a custom image and there's 3 products. The Store Spotlight is a newer format, and it allows you to link to 3 pages in your brand store. And this does amazing things for your click-through rates and for your cost per click. If you're getting good quality traffic at a cheaper rate, guess what that does for your profitability? That's right. So why don't you check out my case study / beginner's guide on how we drove literally millions and millions of dollars at very low ACoS. It started with just some fantastic campaigns that in a short period made, I think $400,000 was the original case study. Since then, it's grown enormously. So check that out. That's the first option. How can you find out about tested enhancements for brand stores? One of the ways you can do that is check out my playlist on A/B tests. And what we do there is we show A/B tests that we've run. Did version A or version B win, and why? What was the hypothesis? And what can we do onwards to try and optimize this even more? So instead of just trying to learn everything at your own expense, check that out and learn at my expense.